what up everybody, it's Anime Junkie and welcome to part 1 to What If Deku Stayed Quirkless, and now let's get to the intro.
I'm not the one you wanna fuck with. Late nights messing up my sleep, so I'm flustered. Taking out aggression with my pen because I trust it. Right in front of get myself a lamb color custom. For the game, leave him hanging by his chain. Click bang, feeling rage, feeling fire in my brain, feeling sane. And it's slowly feeling flames with the fire from my brain. Bringing more, please, no glory.
Now, okay, I wanted to do this What If series ever since I did the What If Deku was Iron Man, because I wanted to do a What If series where Deku was quirkless just like in the Iron Man series, but this time he would actually work on his body instead of his mind. See, Deku is still smart as always in his in the actual anime like canon, but not like Iron Man, okay? So this time he's actually gonna work on his body, train hard, doing martial arts training, improving his body, improving his muscles, training, hunting, all that stuff combined in this What If series. And then he's gonna basically declare to the world that he's gonna be the first quirkless hero, like the series should have gone. I mean, Deku just getting one for all is just like cheating on his dream. Like, to prove someone that is quirkless to become a hero, well, he had to take a quirk and get a quirk to do that or achieve that dream. So in this What If series, he's actually gonna be quirkless and not gonna get one for all or any other power like that. He's gonna be quirkless to the bone, and he's just gonna be doing training all the time, and he's not gonna be a little wuss like in the canon, because this time he's actually gonna step up to Bakugo. He's gonna say, yeah, I'm quirkless, what of? I can probably even beat you with your quirk and still become stronger and become a hero better than you. And he would basically beat Bakugo's ass whenever he basically annoys him or teases him about being quirkless, and he will basically prove to everyone in his kindergarten and his middle school that he's not someone to mess with, because he's been training every single day, hour, minute of his life to become a hero. And he basically tells everyone, because I'm quirkless, I need to work 10 times more, maybe even 100 times harder than a normal person with a quirk. So he's probably going to do that superhuman training that Stain has done, because his quirk doesn't really affect him with his physical training like All Might's does. So he has to actually become physically stronger, physically faster with his training, whatever he did. So he's just gonna be like Stain, and maybe even faster and stronger than him, because he has more time to train. Because Stain was like a really new hero to the series, and he probably only got a few years or maybe 3 years to train, but Deku would actually have his entire life to train. So Deku from a young age would really know that he's quirkless, because he's really excited to have a quirk and wants to be like All Might. But this time he doesn't really have that much ambition about All Might, because when he finds out he has quirkless, or he is quirkless, and he'll basically start training and all that stuff, learning about martial arts, how to fight, how to use weapons, different weapons, and how to make his bones, his muscles, his veins, I don't know, but basically training his mind, muscles, and everything stronger. He would realize that All Might isn't that good of a fighter. He only uses his fists and stuff, so he would lose respect for him in a fighting standpoint, but he would be like, I still respect him as a hero because he's the strongest and he basically helps anyone with a smile on his face. So let's say Deku is 2 years old, almost turning 3, and he basically says, I really want to find out if I have a quirk or not. So he basically go to the quirk doctor pretty early, like 2 years before he actually found out that he was quirkless. He goes there. The quirk doctor basically tells him, it's not happening, kid, because you have a second pinky toe on your pinky, or I don't know, I don't remember what the pinky toe thing was, but yeah, it's like your pinky toe is way different, and symptoms that people that have quirks don't really have this feature that you have, so you're not probably going to develop a quirk anytime soon. And Deku's basically shocked about this, but he's like, but wait a minute, I'll be the first quirkless hero. And if you're wondering if Deku's gonna be that cheerful kid anyways, he's not gonna be that cheerful kid. He's basically gonna develop, because right now he's cheerful because he's young, first of all, and he's still gonna grow into a personality and calmer personality, because he's also gonna meditate. He's gonna be fine with killing animals and stuff like that, and he's gonna be like the person who's basically stabs for the eyes, is like, because he has no quirk, he has nothing to defend himself against, so he's gonna go for the vitals, like the eyes, nose, and the mouth, the ears, and all that stuff. So the groin and all that stuff, he basically takes advantage of everything in a fight, because because he's quirkless, he has nothing to defend against. Even if he has superhuman strength, superhuman speed, that's nothing compared to a long-range quirk like Todoroki's or Endeavor's. So he would utilize any weapons he has: smoke grenades, normal grenades, weapons, guns, basically swords, knives, and all this stuff. Deku is fully determined to basically go all out on his training, and he'll be that kid who will always basically go home early because he has to do something or something. So he probably won't really have a social background or something, or social standing in his class, because he never hangs out with anyone because he always trains and trains. So let's actually move on to when Bakugo develops his quirk, and he basically goes to Deku's house and he's like, "Hey Deku, guess what? I have a quirk." And he's like, "Oh wait, no, let's actually stop that." Bakugo and Deku are meeting for the first time. Deku's probably been training for about 1 year now. He's probably going through a lot of training, and basically he knows how to do hand-to-hand combat, and no kid at his age can basically stand up to him, even if they have a quirk. I mean, he's the only person who doesn't have a quirk. So yeah. So Bakugo basically goes up to Deku with his mom, and basically they're at the door, and Deku basically comes up to Bakugo and then tells him, "Hi, my name is Izuku Midoriya and I'm quirkless." And he's actually open about this. He doesn't care if he's quirkless or not. He knows that he can beat someone with sheer skills, martial arts, and training. And then Bakugo says, "You're quirkless? What a loser." And Deku basically just says like, "Bakugo, I know you have a strong quirk or pretty flashy quirk, but I can still beat you without one. And I don't need a quirk to beat you." And he's like, "Oh yeah?" And he basically throws a right hook with an explosion in his hands. Deku dodges it and basically punches Bakugo in the face. He goes flying outside of the door, and he basically says, "Ow, that hurt, you idiot." And then Deku basically tells Bakugo that, "I'm not gonna stand for your bullying, because I've already gone through a lot, and I'm gonna train like hell 10 times harder than you. Even if you train 10 times harder than me, I'll train 20 times, 30 times, 50 times, 100 times. No matter how hard I have to train, I'll get stronger than you, Bakugo." And from this experience, Bakugo knows he doesn't want to basically make Deku angry ever, because he knows he can beat his ass and he never wants to make him angry. So Bakugo will still give Deku his nickname Deku, and Deku would just don't really care. He's like, "I'm gonna call you Bakugo. I don't really care about that nickname crap, so I'm just gonna call you by your normal name because I'm more mature than you and not like a kid." After that fighting experience, he basically says to Mitsuki Bakugo, he's like, "Sorry for hitting your son." And he basically goes outside and starts training. He's punching a tree with bare hands and he's bleeding all this time. And Mitsuki basically runs up to him. He's like, "What are you doing? You're hurting your arms." And he's like, "No, this is just normal." And basically his mom basically comes, like, stops Mitsuki. Is like, "No, he's training. Let him do it, because this is like a daily thing." And then Bakugo and Mitsuki are really surprised at how hard Deku is training from a young age. He's like, "Is this healthy?" He's like, "No, it's not, but that's the only thing that he can focus on. There's no way to revert his attention from anything else. He doesn't like toys, he doesn't like games, he doesn't like any other things, hanging out with friends or anything, because he doesn't really have any friends because he's quirkless and everybody looks down on him. So that's why the only thing he can put attention to is training and get stronger." So basically Deku starts training and he basically stops punching the tree and then starts kicking it, and then Bakugo sees all the holes in the trees where Deku's punched it for a while now, and there's like holes, tree branches are missing, and then he basically goes up to a wall, upgrade, and then he starts punching the wall again. And he also sees that next to the walls there are other walls that have holes inside of where Deku's been practicing his punches, and he's just surprised how hard Deku's training. So he's just sitting there next to a tree and seeing Deku training, and then he starts getting this metal rod and starts beating his hands and stuff. He's like, and Bakugo's saying, like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, I'm basically making my bones stronger by sending vibrations through them." And Bakugo would ask, he's like, "Oh, is that a training for making your bones stronger?" He's like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Could it work on me? Because it hurts my bones whenever I use my quirk too much, so would it work on me?" It's like, "Yeah, of course. Do you want to try it?" And Bakugo goes up and starts hitting his bones, and he's like, "Ow, this hurts." He's like, "Oh, you'll get used to it." And then he basically sees this pot full of sand, and Deku starts basically jabbing it with his jabbing it with his fingers wide open. He starts jabbing it a lot, and he's training a lot. He's basically training a lot. He's doing meditation. He's working on his muscles, martial arts, and all this. And let's fast forward on summer break, and basically Bakugo comes and visits Deku, and then Deku basically comes out of the door, and he's like all packed up. He has like a sword, and he has like a fishing rod, and all this like baggage. It's like camping equipment. And he's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Oh, my summer camp training." He's like, "What's your summer camp training?" "I basically live in the forest for the whole summer and basically train how to kill and control my bloodlust and stuff like that." He's like, "What? Why would you do that?" It's like, "It's training. See ya." And he's like, "But I wanted to hang out." And he's like, "Who cares? My training is more important than hanging out with you, Bakugo." And he's like, "Damn you." And Deku always does this training, summer training, whenever he's off of school. He basically goes to the mountains, trains there, hunting boars, hunting, eventually when he becomes a teenager, he starts hunting bears and stuff like that, larger creatures, and sometimes he runs into animals like the lion, tiger, or jaguar, or panther, or something like that. He'll basically kill anything to eat, and he'll also get those techniques that Stain developed and Toga developed, because there are techniques that you can also develop in the My Hero Academia world. They're not quirks necessarily, they're things that you develop while training. So Stain's bloodlust binding, which is just controlling the bloodlust, and is exactly the same or another form of Toga's hiding her presence, but Stain's is making it larger and making it known and basically binding people with his bloodlust. But Toga's technique is more of suppressing the bloodlust and suppressing her existence and basically moving around and stuff. So it's basically the same technique but different versions of it. One is basically making it more known and basically spreading it out and releasing it, and the other one is suppressing it. So those are two techniques that hunters really know, because if their bloodlust is all over the place, they won't really get a good target on their target or like a hunting thing like that, and they have to suppress it. And when they want to scare off other big preys, they will basically let their bloodlust loose so that to scare them off and stuff. So yeah, and he will also get a technique learning and basically sensing bloodlust. If he can feel people like sensing, giving out their bloodlust and stuff like that. He'll also learn that when any prey are actually trying to attack him or something, or sneak up on him, he would know where they're attacking from and would know that they're giving out their bloodlust. And this technique would actually be in a really high level, because people or animals in the forest actually know how to suppress their bloodlust, but humans don't know how to do that. Only humans that have trained a lot. So I don't think a lot of people would know how to do that. So his sensing ability was really high, so he can probably sense that, and animals can probably control that and stuff. So he basically goes out in the forest, meditate and hunt and stuff like that, and after the summer training is up, he'll basically come back home, shower, go to the school next day, and basically do that Rock Lee type of training. So everyone in his middle school knows not to mess with Deku because he's quirkless, but his training regimen is really tough and he's really strong, and they've seen Deku basically beat Bakugo even with his quirk on. So they're basically kind of scared of Deku and basically leaving alone, and Deku likes it that way because he needs to train and doesn't have time for other people. So let's move on to the start of the anime, or when he gets attacked by the Sludge villain. He basically tries everything to attack the Sludge villain, but eventually he basically gets captured, and then All Might saves him, and he's like, "Okay kid, what's your quirk?" He's like, "I'm quirkless." And then he's like, "Oh, I see." He basically packs up the Sludge villain, ties him up, and basically jumps off, but Deku actually grabs onto him and basically asks him the question, and he says, "Can I become quirkless, or can I become a hero without any quirk?" And All Might would say no, and he would basically transform back into his Small Might form. Deku would like, "Are you an imposter?" And he was like, "No, I'm not an imposter." He would tell him about his injury that he got 5 years ago. And then after hearing the answer through his question, he's like, "Oh, I see. Alright." But Deku still has that determined look on his face, and All Might's like, "Why does he look so determined?" He's like, "Does he really want to be the hero that bad?" And All Might basically kind of feels bad. He's like, "I just crushed his dreams and stuff." And he basically walks out, and he looks at All Might again, and then he's like, "Wait, where's the bottle? And did you like throw it away or something?" He's like, "Oh, what?" And then they hear an explosion, and Deku's like, "Damn it." And he basically jumps off the building. He's basically grabbing onto the building and basically having like these claws on the building now, and his fingers are like not hurting because he's trained a lot and his bones are really durable. And then he starts running full speed at the explosion, and All Might basically looks at him. He's like, "That kid's fast. is he sure that he doesn't have a quirk? And All Might also follows him, and he basically eventually gets there. And then when he gets there, he sees Deku charging into the battle. He's really fast, and basically he stabs the Sludge villain in his eye, because this is the second encounter, and this time he knows what to expect, because it wasn't just out of random. He's like, whoa, Sludge villain here. I don't know how to fight him, because he's just like, I've never seen this kind of Sludge villain before. So he basically stabs him in the eye with a pencil out of his bag. He basically does that, and the Sludge villain is really distracted. He loosens his hold on Bakugo. Deku basically does in a full blow, pulls Bakugo out, and then does a backflip to dodge the Sludge villain's attack through his legs to capture him, and he's basically safe. Bakugo is safe. The Sludge villain is basically looking for the next prey, and then All Might comes in, blows him away, and then he basically says, okay, I'll be getting out of there, and he goes away. And the media basically stormed Deku. He's like, whoa, what's your quirk, and why did you run there? Before the heroes can actually get to Deku, and he's like, no, I'm quirkless. And the media is like, wait, what? You're quirkless? And they're basically shocked to hear this. And he's like, yeah, I'm quirkless, and I'm Izuku Midoriya, and I'm gonna be the first quirkless hero. And now you might be thinking, wait, this kid doesn't have any hope. And he's like, wait, all these heroes that didn't have the quirk to basically fight that villain, but I don't even have a quirk, and I was able to do something that they couldn't with quirks. So doesn't that make me a better hero than them? So why shouldn't I become a hero? And everyone basically with the media, they're basically shocked and basically quiet, because they have no retort to that statement that he just made. It's like, it's kind of those questions like, well, yeah, why shouldn't he become a hero if he's way better than these heroes here? And everybody's just silent. They're thinking this over, and then the media, everybody's cheering for this kid. He's like, oh, the quirkless kid, Izuku Midoriya, the quirkless kid. Everybody's supporting him because he's a kid who did something that people with quirks, and there were pro heroes that couldn't do anything, and he's quirkless and he was able to do it. And then before the heroes could get to him, he basically starts scaling a building and starts jumping over buildings with his superhuman strength and speed, and everybody's like, is he quirkless? Because they're just wondering, it's like, why is he so strong and fast? So yeah, Deku basically becomes a celebrity on the internet. He's like, oh yeah, the quirkless kid, he's so cool, I'm voting for him to become the next hero and stuff. So yeah, and a lot of quirkless people around the world, like office workers that are quirkless, who are also being bullied by their friends that have quirks. And Melissa is also watching this from Island, and is like, wow, this kid is pretty amazing. I'll support him too, because I'm quirkless too. And I might basically do Melissa x Deku in this one, because they're both quirkless. And to Melissa, I mean, Deku is to Melissa like a hero or something, because he's like, you just given light to every single quirkless people out there, and you have become like a symbol of peace to us. So Melissa's a big fan of Deku and wants to know everything about him, and she's probably going to be like the follower who looks up to a hero that is really similar to them. So yeah, so I'm basically gonna do the entrance exam, and after that, that's the end of the first part, because I'm not gonna go over that. So All Might basically finds Deku after, when he's walking back home, and he's like, ha, welcome. Izuku Midoriya is like, yeah, hey, what's up, All Might? And he's like, I want to entrust my quirk to you. He's like, no thanks. I already announced to the entire world that I'm gonna be the first quirkless hero, so no thanks. He's like, are you sure? This is a pretty strong quirk, you know. And Deku basically just declines. He's like, no, sorry All Might, but I'm gonna be the first quirkless hero no matter what. And I'm gonna prove to the world that even someone without a quirk can become a hero, and become a hero just like you. And then All Might's like, okay, fine, you don't have to take my quirk, but at least let me train you. It's like, fine, whatever. But so, in the summer training or in the holidays, I won't be in the city. I'll be in the basically the mountain. So All Might would ask, why does he go to the mountains in the summer training or holidays? He's like, no, I do my training or hunting training there. And he's like, hunting training? Why is that? Because it improves my skills. And it's like, what skills? And he basically does his bloodlust binding, and also his hiding his presence and stuff like that. And he demonstrates this from him. He's like, is that your quirk? And he's like, no, these are techniques that I developed from training. And All Might's shocked, and like, whoa, this kid developed some training or techniques just from hard work and training? He's impressive. And it's pretty sad that nobody can actually get one for all if they don't accept it. So yeah, he's like, okay, I'll meet you at the beach tomorrow morning. And Deku's like, okay, got it. So Deku goes home, finishes his homework up, and basically goes to sleep right after that, taking a shower, by the way. And then he basically wakes up at 3 p.m, goes to the beach and starts doing his training, his exercise. And at 6 p.m, or not 6 p.m., 6 a.m., sorry, All Might arrives. He's like, whoa, kid, you're here early. I was like, I've been here since 3 a.m. And he's like, what, 3 a.m.? Why were you doing that early? And he's like, I was doing training. So All Might basically noticed a few months in that Deku's training is way more advanced than his own training regimen. He's like, wow, this kid doesn't really need my help. And he's like, okay, Izuku Midori, after a month, by the way, he's like, I won't be training you anymore because I haven't been doing nothing. You've been doing your own training regimen and it's better than mine. So I can't really teach you anything. Sorry, but I need to go. So he's like, okay, see ya, All Might, and choose your next successor because it depends on the next #1 hero. Well, it's gonna be me anyways, so see ya. All Might leaves. He does his training by himself from the 9 months that is left, and then the training arc, or not the training arc, what am I saying? The entrance exam. Basically, Deku gets there. He doesn't trip this time because he's more calm. He's done a lot of meditation and he doesn't really care about anyone. So he's not gonna get flustered or anything. Oh, and by the way, Deku actually has long hair, so he has like a ponytail or something because I think Deku's green hair would naturally basically be suited in the environment. So I think him having more green hair would actually suit him a lot in the jungle. So yeah, he would keep growing his hair until he gets a ponytail and basically stay at that. Oh, and by the way, Deku also has his arms bandaged at all times because whenever he does his training, he basically busts up his arms. But that was when he was younger, when he wasn't that used to his training. But now he is, but he just keeps putting his bandages on because it just helps him all out, and he can actually use them in battle like Rock Lee. And if you guys want me to actually make Aizawa train Deku with his scarf and stuff, just like how he did with Shinsho, so yeah, just tell me that in the comments if Deku should learn that. And I think I am gonna make him learn that because I think Aizawa would see a lot of potential in Deku because he actually passes the exam without a quirk and he does pretty amazing, and all of his training has basically improved a lot. So yeah, he does exactly the same in the practical exam, not the practical exam, the theory exam. He does exactly the same because he's just as smart as the canon self. I mean, he gets A+. I think he's smarter than Bakugo. Bakugo is still smarter than Deku. It's pretty much a surprise, but I think Deku would be smarter than Bakugo, and just to basically make himself cool and basically never losing to Bakugo because he doesn't want an excuse to lose to anyone that has a quirk. So he would start stretching and stuff like that, and everybody, some people would actually recognize him. It was like, oh wait, isn't that the Quirkless kid on the internet 10 months ago? It's like, oh yeah, that's him. I want to see how he does. Maybe he gets last place. So a lot of people would start making fun of him, and then basically Deku would just ignore this and start stretching. Ito would basically get into everybody's way. He's like, stop teasing someone and focus on yourself. He's like, oh, sorry. And then President Mike would basically shout out 3, 2, 1. Deku would zoom past everyone. He's like, what? And then he would see Deku in front of them, basically taking down 2 robots already with 1 punch and the other kick. So he starts taking down robots at his left, and he starts taking down a lot of them with his martial arts. Everybody's like, how doesn't his hands and feet get hurt from the metal? And he's like, he's probably trained a lot. And I would say he's faster than Ida, but when Ida uses his reciprocal burst, he's not faster than Ida when he uses his reciprocal burst. So yeah, he basically sees Uraraka in trouble with the 0-point robot comes in, and he basically scales the building and then uses the momentum to basically punch the robot. Doesn't really do anything. He starts pulling out the cables and stuff and completely stops the robot, but the robot is falling forward and he has to do anything to basically move it backward. So he basically uses the momentum again from the building up his hand and then punches him in the face. And the robot, the punch is strong enough to basically move or tilt the robot backwards, and it starts falling backwards. And then basically Deku starts running down his body and pushes his legs or body from the body, and basically it also does that to the robot to push it down a little more. And he basically lands in front of Uraraka, removes the rubble, and basically picks her up and gets out of there. And the punch wasn't like all for one level or one for all level because it's just superhuman training. It's not that strong, but it was good enough to basically tilt or force the robot to fall down a little. It wasn't that strong of a punch. It did leave a dent on his face, but it was just a little dent. And then Deku doesn't really say anything to Uraraka. He's like, sorry, I gotta put you down. I need to get more attack points, so I don't have really time for you. So he puts her down really carefully and then starts running to robots and try to kick them and fight them, and gets a little few or 10 or maybe even 20 points extra at the last moment. And then the time goes out, and Deku is way more than Bakugo. He's gonna be always like a 1 step ahead of Bakugo whenever he uses his quirk. So that's how it's gonna end up being. So he actually gets 60 rescue points. No. He gets 70 rescue points because in this timeline he actually was able to help Uraraka with the rubble. So that's extra 10 rescue points from the 60 when he basically defeated the 0-point robot to save Uraraka. And let's say he gets 60 attack points. No. 80 attack points, so that's about 140 points. I think that's right. I don't know if my math is right, but yeah, 140 points, and Bakugo probably gets like 135 points with his attack points. So yeah, that's how Deku basically wins. He wins by 5 points. And yeah, that's it. The practical exam is over. Deku basically leaves normally and goes back home, and he's pretty confident about his score. He doesn't really know about the rescue points, but he still's like, I probably already got like 4th place or 6th place or something, but I think I did pretty good. So yeah, and that's it guys. Make sure to like if you actually like this series. I really appreciate this series and I love it. I really love the Stain twist on Deku, which he basically gets serious and stuff and uses any weapon that at his disposal. So yeah, hope you guys liked, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and as always, Anime Junkie out.